Hi, Janelle Schaefer here. And before we get started, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification, which is the little bell that will notify you each time I put a new video up. And I am trying to do that once a week. So today's video is about choosing watercolor art supplies. And as an art teacher, I often have parents ask me what to use or what to buy for their children or even for themselves. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to move some of this over here. We're going to focus on this side first. So watercolors come in all shapes, sizes, and prices. And I teach a lot of watercolor classes. I think it's a great medium to start out with kids, and it's really fun. It's easy and it's not messy. Or not very messy, easy to clean up. So what I do is I purchase whenever I see a tray like this, and this is just like a flimsy plastic, I purchase trays that are, I would call lesser quality, craft or student grade quality. This looks probably most of you have used watercolors like this, and it came in a yellow tray with the classic plastic little paintbrush. And this, I would say, is the poorest quality of all of the watercolors here. The paints are very light. The colors are not vibrant. I would probably use something like this with a super early young age beginner painter. So someone, maybe if you have a child that's like 3 or 4 and really just starting to get interested. And the reason why I say that is because they're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to throw away a lot of paper. So I kind of go inexpensive at first. Now, these palettes of watercolors are better. This was in a kit. I often buy like art kits at Michael's for my kids, and they'll have like packs of watercolors in the kit. These are little squares that pop out, and I like these paints. I think they're pretty good quality for students, and I like the variety of colors that they have to choose from. Same with this. This was in an art kit that came with like colored pencils and crayons and a whole bunch of other things. So these are not too expensive. I think the kits might have been like $20 total for all the supplies. Might have even been less. Okay, so then moving along. This brand, and I'm not endorsing any specific brand, I'm just sharing with you what I have. This, I believe, is Artist Loft, which is a cheaper brand that you can buy at Michael's. And I use this sometimes with even my artwork that I sell. And I will do it if I really want a specific color for something, and I'm not going to be able to mix that. Like, for instance, this hot pink or some of these more vibrant colors. I'm not going to be able to mix that with a standard tube of paint, but I might want a little bit of this vibrant color here or there, and I really like this set. I can have a lot of fun with this, and this was probably under $10. And these paints last a long time. I have been using these for art classes, and boy, I use them all year for art classes, and I would say maybe once a week for students. So it's not an everyday thing, but watercolors, they last a long time. Okay, so this is another like fun purchase. This is Yasutomo, and I love painting with shimmery paints, like sparkly paints. This again was probably like under $10, and sometimes I give this to my kids to just play around with, and I also use this in the same way I use this set, where if I have like something like I'm painting hair or jewelry and I want to do something shimmery, I'll use this set to add like a little bit of a shimmer to the paint, my other like more expensive paint. Okay, So then moving on, I bought these, whoops, I don't want to turn that. I bought these little tins. So when I see art supplies on sale for a good deal at the craft store, I usually pick them up. But this was, again, maybe $5. And these are Artist Loft, but they're tube brand watercolors. And you just squeeze out like a pea-size amount. And so this is more liquid or soft or wet versus this is already dry. So you could paint with the paint right outside the tube, right out of the tube, and it would look like acrylic. Let me just try to open it. And oftentimes beginners paint, oh, this one's not open, so you have to poke a hole. Often beginners paint with tube watercolor paint like acrylic paint because they're just not used to using enough water. But again, these are great if you squeeze them out onto like a plastic palette. So sometimes like I'll use the other side of the lid. You can see a little paint there. And I'll put my little pea-size amount and then I'll add my water. If this dries, I can reactivate it with water. And that's what I love about watercolors. They can be reactivated where when I paint with acrylic, if I do not use it and it dries, I have to throw it away. Okay. Moving on, this is probably my favorite set that I have, and this is a more expensive set. This is Prang. These colors are much more vibrant, more rich. They go on very rich or darker in color, and it might look like a children's set, but it really is not. It's more of a professional grade, and you can see I use this a lot. I use both sides for palettes. This is my favorite. I would let a teenager or an older child who is really developing as a watercolor painter use something like this, not a younger child, and definitely an adult. So then moving along, I also have watercolors in all kinds of tubes. And this Grumbacher, Grumbacher is probably the best tube brand I have. And that's where the pigment is richer and the colors are richer. And it just makes for a nicer, more professional looking watercolor. Then I also have, let's see, what is this? I have to look closer. Langhorn or Langnickel. This brand is not too bad, and I like that. So I do not really use this type of paint for young children. I would say teenage on up. This paint, you have to really know the amount of water to use, and you're often mixing colors and blending them to create new colors. So this takes more skill than something over here. This is a palette, pretty easy. All you do is add a little bit of water. The color is there. It's all divided. These are great for, besides this one, these little palettes are great for young kids, elementary, middle school age, and younger. So that is my little video about watercolor paints, and I might go into more detail another time. But thank you for watching. And like I said, subscribe. And if you have any wonderful positive comments about watercolor painting, please leave them down below. Thanks.